I was never even supposed to get to DC because the person who got me to the White House was the same person who didn't want me to come to DC. And literally, that was it. It was just, yeah, it was just a crazy the way it happened because I'm the Army, and I was working for Joint Forces at the time, going in for the DC and the Pentagon. And the Army guy who was the head supervisor, you had to try out. You got to do his clearance and all that stuff. And the Navy guy who was actually in charge, I worked my butt off. I went there. I just showed out. I did everything like I always do. Don't ask any accolades. I just work. And when I left to see if I was get a job, it was 3 other people trying to apply for it. And I didn't hear anything back. And I was like, oh, okay, all right, let me go back. I was back in infantry back at Fort Campbell. And I went back and my commander was like, okay, that's enough of that cook shit. Now back to work. I was like, okay. And I got kind of complacent, but I was like, I got, all right, I'm good. And then one day I got a call and they were like, hey, you're coming to DC.
Oh man, we'll kick those tires and start that COVID-free fire. It is time to virtually camp. This is my first interview back since I survived the scourge of the new bubonic plague, the COVID. We are welcoming today the deadliest item you'll find in your kitchen. Am I talking about a corkscrew? No. A Cuisinart? Please. Food processor? No way. Who am I speaking of? Chef Andre Rush, a man whose biceps are so big that Twitter classified it as misinformation and forced me to label them as quadriceps. He served in the White House and cooked for 4 different presidents, has had a distinguished and long service career in the military, and he makes one hell of a steak. So please welcome to the virtual fire, or in this case, once again, my virtual guest bedroom, Chef Andre Rush to the campfire. What's up, Chef?
Hey, what's going on? I have to take you everywhere I go now. That's the way I want to be introduced anytime I walk into any room.
There you go. That's right. Well, see, I was coming up with your intro yesterday and I was like, man, I don't know what else to say, but it's funny because when your agent was talking to me, they're like, they said, oh, he's cooked for, presidents. And then right after that was, he's got 24-inch biceps. So, hey, you know what? Take what you get, right?
Yeah, there you go. That goes hands in hand. President biceps.
That's right, President biceps. So, all right, we got a lot to get to today, and we're going to go a little out of order because I have to jump in to the first thing that comes up, which is this insane number, 2,222. This is a number that for many numerologists have debated the significance of this over the years, but for you, it is simply the number of push-ups that you do. Now, if I recall, 5 days a week, you do allow some time for your body to recover. But how do you do 2,222 push-ups a day? Like, how does that work? Walk me through that.
With my arms, I just push. I mean, okay, all right. So first off, I have to tell everybody, it's not a workout. This 2,222 is my cause. It's my reason. So 22 vets commit suicide a day. I caveat with kids and bullying and social bullying and all those good things that I try to spread out into the universe. But for me, it takes me about an hour and a half to 2 hours if I'm lazy. And I do them about 125 each. I rest 125 again, and it ends up to 1,775.
Okay, so I mean, all right, let's count. I'm sure you adapt, and I'm sure you get good at them. I try to do 100 a day, and I felt good about that until I met you. Do you ever is there ever a wear and tear issue, or do you just basically build up to this, and at this point, it's just second nature to your body?
So it's funny because the last time I got that question was on Fox LA Live today. I
Oh,
just
really?
did this.
Okay.
Yeah, they say, "Does it hurt? Does it?" You have to be cognitive. You can't have that ego. Men have that ego a lot. If something's hurting, you need to stop. If something's not right, if something pops, stop, stop, stop. You have to be very cognitive of what you're doing. You know your body better than anyone else. But a lot of times when people start struggling, that's when the injury occurs. I don't struggle because I know where I need to stop at. Um, I've had both my biceps cut off and reattached. I had both my shoulders cut open, and I'm not even supposed to be able to do these many push-ups, right? But it's like no, I can. I don't listen to anyone. I listen to myself, And no time. I've always been an endurance trainer, so I just do them and I do them diligently.
Well, I'll say, so when they cut your biceps open, did they leave something inside of them? Is that why they, or is there a special upgrade you got?
What? They should have, because they told me Chef, you will never grow again. You won't have your biceps. They were like, you'll be okay. It's military. You got to remember that. They're like, you'll be all right. You'll be okay. We cut you open, so it's all right. I'm like, what? That's what you're going to leave me with? I'm like, no, I can't accept that.
Yeah, so military bedside manner could use some improvement, it sounds like. So, all right, well, one more question on this too, just because this is just fascinating. Now, you also are famous for, or I should say notorious for, you don't necessarily get the full 8 hours of sleep that is often recommended. Is that just part of your genetic makeup, or is that learning in the military? Do you have some secret mental training that you go through that allows you to not do this? I'm fascinated by this.
Well, I'm glad you asked that question, because it's been fabricated over and over again. I could say the world and be like, but you only sleep this amount of time. How can you say the world? So let me tell you how I say the world. Basically, because I'm better than everybody else with that part of it. But I do have Uberman sleep cycle. Uberman sleep cycle, if no one knows what it is that it's like a high functioning drunk, right? And when I say, and even when that was taken, it was taken out of context, saying I can go and sleep 2 hours a night for 5 days, or then the next night I can sleep 3 hours or 4 hours. Now, I'll be honest with you, I don't get past those 4 hours most of the time because I'm always running. But I adapted that way since I was a kid, waking up early in the morning at 3 o'clock, to go do stuff in the farm, go to school, this, and then I just transitioned right into the military. In the military, it was still the same thing, just going. And then after I got out of the military, I transitioned to even a more hectic lifestyle of being Chef Rush. And so when I go through it now, don't get me wrong, every few months I'll crash. I'll get about 10 hours of sleep, and then it feels like I woke back up. I'm also one of the people where it was tested where I can go to REM even at a nap, right? Oh. So if I go and take a nap, and a lot of people don't know what REM and why it's so important is, because it's when people can go to sleep for 10 or 12 hours and only get an hour of sleep, when they go into the actual REM part of it. Me, my body kind of adapts to that way. And they like, well, how can you keep your muscle memory? How can you do this? How can you be cognitive? I don't know. I got to ask God that question.
It works. I'd love to see the sergeants who are trying to, you walk into camp and they're like, we're going to sleep deprive this guy. And you're like, you'll go to sleep before I will, man.
Like, you can't smoke a rock.
Oh, man. All right. Well, hey, as they say in LA, I love that for you. So good job. All right. So we have a lot to cover here. Walk me through. So you're from the great state of Mississippi. And did you have a love affair with food early on? When did the chef first, when did his chef's top hat emerge for the first time?
With my mother. Loved to cook. My mother cooked. She's from the South, the hospitality state. So everything around Mississippi and those southern states was always that congregation around food, family, health, fitness. Well, not health. Mississippi.
Yeah, so Mississippian for.
They're not healthy. Okay, my bad. So hospitality. Let me start with that.
Hospitality. The other H.
It's comfort food. It's that loving food, and it's very heavy, and it can be very deadly, and all of that. Luckily, we didn't have a lot of meat, even though we had to farm and, slaughter and all that stuff, because we share with everyone. But we did have a lot of vegetables, which I learned early on to eat because I didn't get anything else. At one point in time, I was just eating anything I possibly could. That's why vegetables to me are so great and delicious, but I am a carnivore. But I love cooking my mother. I would go in and sneak and cook with her. My dad didn't know a lot. The men didn't work. The men didn't cook back in those days. Not per se like that. Men went to work, girls go to school, and girls cook. Yada yada yada. It's the South, and that was just the way it is. I mean, of course, it evolved since then. But I just love cooking with my mother. That's all I knew. I didn't know culinary or anything else that went on it. I just know how I felt when my mom used to let me cook, and that was a good feeling.
Okay, so I have to ask, let's go back. Great. And one of my favorite things about food is its ability, and I say this with a new appreciation now, having lost half my taste to COVID. So I really appreciate this more than ever. Everyone's got that recipe or that thing that just takes them back, and you get one whiff of it, and it takes you back to the kitchen where you are with your mom. Whatever. Is there a special meal or something that you just like? You smell that, and it just takes you back instantly, and it's one of those childhood favorites.
Not one of the childhood favorites because it was like chitlins. Hated them. I used to be like, "What's for me?" And she was like, "Chitlins." I was like, "No, okay." But what I did like is the smell of, like, my mom used to make it, and I know it's just a bottom feeder, but back in the day, she used to make this catfish.
Dude, catfish is great. Don't be dissing catfish is amazing.
I love catfish. I know people like, "Oh, eat catfish. That's tilapia and all this other stuff."
Trust me, if people knew where the fish that they came from, they wouldn't be dissing catfish.
They would not diss catfish. They would not diss catfish, and I love because it was just a meaty fish. It was like party, and when you crack into it with some nice coleslaw and just the home fries, and I just love that. I know it's simple, and then like the pot roast and just like so aromatic, even with greens, because greens have, there was collard green and mustard greens and all kind. They have a different flavor profile, especially when you put ham hocks inside of them, and that flavor just comes out and mixed together. It's like a smell, aromatic that you can't reproduce. Right, just something that makes you just tingle inside, and like, wow, I remember that from my mom, back in the day,
Oh man, I thought you were gonna say like fried chicken or something. Is that because that's a classic there, right?
No, I mean, I ate a lot of chicken. I still do. But that was a given.
Oh, okay, yeah, I no, because whenever I think of just Southern cook, I just something about. It's like that line from The Help, like, Minnie don't burn chicken. She don't burn chicken. All right, so you developed this, this cooking started at a young age, and you enjoyed cooking with your mom. And then is that something? Did it just sort of stay as a kind of a hobby and something that you enjoyed? And when did it sort of take off and get a little more serious?
Great question. It took out accidentally. Cooking was a hobby of mine. It wasn't something that I think could even go anywhere. And when I did change over to become a cook, I got shunned for it. It was like, why would you do that? Why would you be a cook? And I was a big guy. I was very over athletic, and, I had a lot of stuff that was going for me. I didn't take any of my scholarships after high school, football, track, and art and all that. I went to the military to serve. And, when I started cooking and stuff, it wasn't what I thought it would be, because it was mass cooking. This wasn't my mother's cooking. This was mass feeding. This was slop feeding right here. I was like, oh, okay, this is not. And people were different. I was a hard worker, and everybody else was a little bit different than I was. And so one day, one of the big guys actually saw me. For some reason, he took an interest to me. And he was like, I want him to come to do the culinary show. And I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And he took me, which is at Fort Lee, Virginia, the quartermaster of the world, and did the first show and just fell in love with it. And back then, you didn't have Google or the computers or anything to do or whatnot, and even books. I had to figure it all out. And I love this culinary stuff, but I have no idea where to start or how to do it. Didn't go to college for it. And I used to save my money and just order books, and I would fail terribly because it's not a good translation from, doing it because it's black and white pictures, from Espagaz to trying to, it was just terrible. So I learned from a lot of errors, a lot of failures, a lot of mistakes. I competed in a lot of shows, and I did that just to get the experience. I didn't care if I win or lost or whatever. I wanted to be in the battle, and I told every person I was in the battle with, it's like, you're going to lose. And they'll look at me like, kid, what are you talking about? And I lost. And I was like, see, you lost. Told you would lose because I won because I was there. So that was my point.
Oh man, so you were the original Beat Bobby Flay, you know?
I was the original. I was that guy.
You want to
Now,
take on Bobby Flay, by the way? Because you could challenge him on this program right now. Are you calling out Bobby Flay?
I'll
Yeah.
call out Bobby Flay. Every 5 minutes, we got to do 10 push-ups.
Okay. Okay. Actually, that's a new show. You could have, Bobby can cook, and you got to see in between sets. You got to make something, and
Exactly.
then when you can't hold the omelet pan anymore, that's when you know it's ready. So you started cooking, and then what actually? So what prompted you to? Let me back up here. So you're cooking, and was there any other career aspirations? Where you were in college? If I recall, you studied hospitality, right, and hotel or restaurant
Right?
management. So military service came later, right?
No. It was doing.
During that, okay, awesome. Because I read that you actually were in the Pentagon on September 11th in the gym, and did you re-enlist after that happened, or what was the
I
genesis
was
of that?
I was still going through. I was still in the
Got it.
military.
Got it.
So that was one long, like I did re-enlist after, but it was just one long continuation.
Got it. And what prompted you to enlist in the military just to begin with?
Um, honestly, my family is like a family. I use the word servitude. Someone tried to shun me for using that word servitude. They're like, you're not servile and you're this. And my father, and I'm like, no, servitude is I serve. I do. I want to support. I want to help.
Hmm.
I want to do that. My father was a preacher. My mother was deacon. My other brother was a merchant marine. My other brother was an officer in the Navy. My younger sister was
Hmm.
a colonel in the Air Force. It was genetically. My other sister helped the blind. My other sister was a counselor. We were a family of servitude and service. And I want to do something to give back. I know it was my service to the country. I knew my brothers were in the military. I didn't ask them for any help. I just did it on my own. And I was like, I want to do something bigger and better. I didn't know what that would look like. But I knew I wanted to serve my country.
Oh man. Well, thank you for your service, Chef. I really appreciate it. I didn't realize your father. So your father was a pastor. So you're a PK. You're a pastor's kid.
Yeah, PK.
What denomination was your dad a pastor? Was he Baptist or? Oh man. Okay. So was this a Baptist like only wine for communion and only in communion and cooking? Is that the kind of Baptist it was?
That's the guy.
Oh, okay. All right.
That's
Okay.
got it.
Oh man. So now do you have a lot? So was church Sundays a big deal growing up then? Was that like,
Yeah.
big, like people over the house, big barbecues, cookouts, all that?
All that. It was that typical Southern, church. It was by law, church by law, literally. You were not skipping church, and any type of Sunday schools or anything else that went in between it was still the same.
And it's interesting. PKs tend to go one of two directions, right? Which is out the opposite door and kind of away from it, or those kind of come back home and kind of embrace it. But how did growing up a pastor's kid influence your spirituality and your faith? Is that something that you still hold to very dearly and that tradition, or how has that influenced your faith?
No, I hold to it extremely. It's like the old saying, don't forget where you came from. A
Hmm.
lot of people become complacent, entitled and all those different things with it. And they have to think it is something that I live with. Prayer helped me out so many times. I've almost died a few times in my life. And honestly, the last time being like November, I shouldn't be here. I say it over and over again. So each time I'm blessed to come back because a lot of people were like, well, here I am. And they don't realize that if your life had stopped right then and there, everything would have changed. But now also you got to realize that if your life has stopped right there and you start again a second later, what can you do to give back? What can you do to leave a legacy? What can you do? Because you're not supposed to be here. So that's my whole theory on why I do so much and why I work so hard to give back to so many people and do the things I do is because I'm really not supposed to be here. I let my kids know that and everybody else know that I'm not supposed to be here. But since I am, this is what I'm going to do.
Oh man, well you're supposed to be here on this show. We're grateful to have you here. That's fine. Divine appointment, man. We got you on this one.
Fine.
Um, Now tell me, how do you go from so you're in the military and in between the insults and berating that you're getting from drill sergeants, et cetera, somewhere along the line, someone discovers, hey, this guy can cook, and the army's got to eat. Walk me through how we end up cooking in the military to cooking at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. How does one end up there?
By faith, by love.
That's right. Okay, so miracles. Okay.
Miracle. It's because I ain't gonna lie to you. I was never supposed to be there. I was never supposed to be there. I was never even supposed to get to DC because the person who got me to the White House was the same person who didn't want me to come to DC. And literally, that was it. It was just, yeah, it was just a crazy the way it happened because I'm the Army, and I was working for Joint Forces at the time, going in for the DC and the Pentagon. And the Army guy who was the head supervisor, you had to try out. You got to do his clearance and all that stuff. And the Navy guy who was actually in charge, I worked my butt off. I went there. I just showed out. I did everything like I always do. Don't ask for any accolades. I just work. And when I left to see if I was get a job, it was 3 other people trying to apply for it. And I didn't hear anything back. And I was like, oh, okay, all right, let me go back. I was back in infantry back at Fort Campbell. And I went back and my commander was like, okay, that's enough of that cook shit. Now back to work. I was like, okay. And I got kind of complacent, but I got, all right, I'm good. And then one day I got a call and they were like, hey, you're coming to DC. And when I got there, after fighting with the commander who didn't want me to go, who reprimanded me because I was going.
Yes.
Crazy world. I found out that the guy in the military, the Army, didn't want me to come. And the Navy guy told me that I came there and showed out and worked my butt off. And unbeknownst to him, let's say 6 months later, something happened where I saved him in a meal or some royalty because I seen everything he had done. And I know he did not like me, but he kind of felt a certain way about me. After it was over with, he thanked me and said, great job, chef. First time he called me chef. And then he said, I'm going to take you somewhere. And that was the 1600. And after that, he took me to my first Olympics. And at the Olympics, he actually told me, he said, he apologized to me, told me that he did that. And I told him I knew about it. And he said, you knew this whole time? And he said, why didn't you hold a grudge? I'm like, because there's no grudge to be held. I said, I'm here for you. I'm a representation of you. I don't need accolades. I just need results for you. We're a team. I said, if you don't like me or you felt a certain way, he called me, he said, Dre, I felt intimidated. I felt as though you were coming in fresh and you were young, you were vibrant, and I felt that I'll get lost. Right. And I'm like, why? I said, look at you. You've done all these different things. And to this very day, literally to this very day, we're still friends. And he's still a great friend of mine and a mentor. And I love him to death.
And so that opened up the door for you. Because I'm actually curious, what is the selection process to get who actually staffs the chefs at the White House? Is that a military or sit in? Flotus is the one for that, but you also have Eisenhower. The White House, if the Navy side, the Navy is Eisenhower. There are White House chefs over there that functions for the whole entire building that's there. That's right adjacent from West Wing, and they also do the trips on Air Force One with the president or Flotus, to get things for them if they need stuff like that. So 2 different parts. They're called MTOs. For the military, it's kind of like Air Force One, Marine 2, Army, yada, yada, all that stuff. Oh, man. And then, all right, so you, what do you call it? And then, so essentially they obviously call from the best of the best and you get out there and you join. Because I imagine everyone who's cooking in the White House or Eisenhower is going to be top of the game, right? I mean, these are the best, right?
At Eisenhower?
Or in both, like White House. I mean, if you're to be cooking at this in the executive branch like this, these are like world-class chefs, right?
Yeah. Some world-class chefs. I mean, they got to know their stuff. They got to be on their par. They got to get selected. You had to go through a process. They don't just pick you out of the blue.
Yeah. All right. So I have to ask, you've served under you've had four different administrations come and go. Any fun, quirky, idiosyncrasies or fun stories about that kind of marked each one of those tenures? I'm hoping you can tell me, like, Clinton used to sneak in for a grilled cheese late in the night, or you know, Trump just liked his hot dogs. I actually heard he does love hot dogs and burgers. Man likes his protein. So I'm just curious if you have any stories from those for those different terms.
Well, a couple different ones. I mean, what you just hit on one. I mean, everybody knows that President Trump, he loved his burgers a little bit, from fast food restaurants. But
Oh yeah.
even when we did them inside, they were a little bit well done, just like the salmon, well done, and we liked his fajita bowls and stuff like that. Some of the presidents do have like their little quirks where they will separate the M&Ms and just eat one flavor profile of it, or the jelly beans. And I don't know if anything like kind of crazy, because they have a pantry in their quarters. So it wasn't a lot of coming down to the kitchen unless they were coming down to make passageway. And then we also have the butlers and everybody that goes up. So it was kind of crazy, but at the same time, their palates were very simplified, just because they ate everywhere with every demographics. So it was a lot of fatty stuff. Think about the creams and the butters and the cheese.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, that's clogging your hearts every second.
Well, I heard the Bushes were actually pretty health conscious, right?
Oh, very, very. They were. He actually ran every day.
Oh,
right?
really?
Yeah. And Obama worked out. Same. So yeah, but the Bushes, he was health conscious.
Oh yeah.
Besides his father with the broccoli.
Oh man. All right. And so so what ultimately led you to transition out of being the White House and cooking and onto the next leg?
What I'm doing now. I mean, I love what I'm doing. It's a give back. It's more than life to me. People think that, being in an entity that, don't get me wrong, was the most amazing thing in the world, but being able to help millions of people is absolutely life-changing. More than any money you could possibly remember, especially to have so many kids that follow you and look at you as I use the word role model, because fortunately, we do need a lot more role models out here. People say they're not role models. Everybody's influenced. If you're on social media and you post something, someone is looking at you, whether it be that one person or that 1 millionth person. My message always stays the same about mental wellness, health, push-ups, and so forth. And at the same time, people will try to utilize and turn around and use your fame of trying to help people to monetize off of it, to turn it to something. The truth of the matter is that people want more negative stuff. A lot of people want more negative stuff, and they like positive stuff. I can come on here praying all day and night, and I'll get no views. But I come on here cussing, I'm going to get 1 million views. And it. What is he cussing about? What is he doing this about? Why is he not sleeping? Why is he doing these push-ups? So it's life. It's balance. I don't let it bother me or disturb me or even faze me, because I'm just me.
Oh man. So basically, you decided to leave to go. Basically, would you call yourself full-time? I mean, you're an author now. We'll talk about your book, which I really want to get into. But also, would you call yourself just a motivational speaker, an activist now, or what's kind of your focus?
I'm a speaker. I speak everywhere. I from Charles Schwab. I just spoke at Wells Fargo with about 350 with military and talking about mental wellness. May is mental wellness awareness month. I'm speaking in a few days to Pentagon Federal for military appreciation, also to raise money. So I've been privileged and fortunate to speak everywhere, FBI, this place, because I've heard every person speak. My principles, they all speak, and I'm not that PowerPoint speaker. I'm not gonna tell you what you want to hear. I'm gonna tell you what you need to hear. Right. And sometimes people get uncomfortable with that, but that's part of who it is and why it is. You got to ask yourself on that part of it. Along with being an author and doing a speaker, I also have about 3 TV shows getting ready to come out.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know, right? I got to keep them guessing. Right?
3. Oh, man. Okay. Are you under strict NDAs, or can you tease us with any? And I saw there's one called Chef in the City, right?
No, that one's I went much bigger since then. A
Oh,
lot.
okay.
Well, 1,000 times bigger since then, actually.
Okay.
Which I'm fortunate. Like I said, it's people say, "Well, you're an actor." I'm like, no. I said, but I only have one choice and one chance. Everything is I think about is you put me in front, just like speaking, that's my only chance I have. And I gotta do it. So one is involving me being a master ice carver. One is involving me kind of acting like Gordon Ramsay. And one is involving something with a big white house. And then one is involving something really pretty. So
Well,
actually,
that's four shows. Yeah. Okay. Okay. All
it's
right.
out for next year,
Oh
next
man,
year.
that's good. Well, you got to pace yourself. That's great.
Yeah.
I don't want your shows to cut into your push-up time. So this is good. Make sure you got a lot there.
Yeah.
Tell us about your book. Actually, show us a picture too. You got a copy there for us.
I do have a copy of it. It is. Can you see that?
We got that. Call me chef. Damn it. Sorry for cussing, folks. So hey, we just got more views then.
We did.
All right, tell us, because there's a great story about why it's called Call Me Chef, damn it.
Because no one called me chef, damn it.
Why would no one call you chef? What's up with that?
Because when I came into the culinary world, it was a very foo-foo world. I'm not going to lie to you. I didn't know it was like that. And I was young and I was Black and I was big and I was different.
Yeah.
And it was just my passion. I appreciate it, respect it, and I did my job. But, some people made it, a little bit more so. And, it's kind of like that you don't belong here type of deal, like I said earlier. And everybody's being called chef except for me. And I was like, why is everybody else being called chef and not calling me chef? Like, well, you got to be a chef. And then so I became a chef. And when I became a chef, I still be called a chef. And people call me by my last name, which to this very day I hate because it's a sign of disrespect because of my rank. And then one day in the heat of the battle, like I said, I'm the hardest worker. The head guy, the head chef, he called everybody chef except for me. And so I was just a little agitated that day. My mental wellness wasn't the best. And I ran over to him and kind of not grabbed him, but just let him know and kind of picked him up a little bit and said, call me chef, damn it. And he looked down and said, yes, chef. Never ever stopped calling me chef after that. Everybody called me chef from that on.
So you just gave some Baptist, you laid some hands on him, right?
Yeah, there you go.
It was a little healing prayer, right?
Yeah, here we go.
Now, what can readers expect in the book? Is this a memoir of kind of your from Mississippi to the White House and a few recipes along the way?
Yeah, rural south to the White House. Actually, no recipes. I'm doing a cookbook right now.
I figure that's coming soon. Okay.
The cookbook has actually been written right this moment.
Okay.
So it'll be out next year as well. But this is a memoir. It just goes through everything from diversity to racism to overcoming toxic leadership, failure, success, from ghosts to 9/11 to just everything you possibly think of. It's just a mud of a book. And it's my story, my memories that kind of came flooding in as I was thinking about this book and what I was going to write. And so I just let it flow on a piece of papers. And then it came out, and from it, everybody is kind of relating because no matter if you grew up in the projects or if you're in corporate, you can learn something about leadership or love or overcoming or toxic or just, mental health and, even from the suicide and military perspectives, and then just being a good person, a human being.
Let me ask, just because you brought it up, you think of this deep South and you think, all right, that, about as racist as it gets, back in the day. What was the environment like for you growing up in Mississippi, and actually I should ask, whereabouts in Mississippi did you grow up?
He said whereabouts.
No.
I got that. I was bouncing Columbus, Mississippi.
Okay.
Columbus, Mississippi. It's that Columbus, Mississippi is a small little town right from my Tupelo, or an hour or so from Birmingham, and a few hours from Atlanta. So just small, couple hours or so from Jackson. Just a really small town, and it was a real black and white town. Right. Okay. Don't get me wrong. We love very hard. Right. My mother and my father taught us, that even though we have things happen and they may not be the best, if one person said it, that next person didn't. Or if 10 people said it and there were 20, 10 people said it and these other 10 people did not say it. And we had to understand that early, make sure that by, bringing in homeless people and feeding them, by bringing in other people and just letting us know that people need help, so support. So going on the farm, we used to go out and do the farm for not only blacks, but also whites and everything. My father and my mother, they were adamant about us kids knowing how to survive in life.
What did y'all farm, by the way?
Everything. I mean, milking cows to pigs to slaughterhouses to just the regular stuff of even I even got that chance to pick cotton. We didn't have cotton, but I picked it. Which I actually, as a kid, it was pretty cool to say, you picked cotton before. I picked cotton before. I actually picked it and stuck my hands and all that stuff. So
oh man. So you felt, was the specter, I mean, did you have to deal with a lot of racism down there?
I did. It was different. Even to this very day when I go back, and I go back as Chef Rush, and it's, you can still feel that part of it. But like I said, that's just how it is. You can't control persons or their attitudes, or even demographically, if they was taught that way.
Yeah.
So you have to look at it as a perspective. It's you taught that way, or you're going to learn that way and teach your kids that way and keep going that way, or are you going to change your perspective and say, okay, I get it. I was wrong for it. Now I understand a little bit more so. So what I do is I do go down and I do make an understanding of, and I'm going to be very honest with you. I go down now. If I feel any of it, I'm going to be let it known in a very tactful way, right? Because I just can't tolerate it now. My mindset won't let me. It's from a little kid, because that was a trigger for me. How people would call my mother or say something to my dad, and I was a little kid and I had to endure that. And my mother and my father, well, my mother rather, would be like, it's okay, because she knew what would happen, and now it's just I tell people that in Mississippi, certain words are very different back then than they are in LA or in New York. Demographically, they made, how somebody says, if you hit me, it may not hurt as much, but if I hit you, I'm going to go right through your heart. That's the difference. Some words can go right through your heart, right? And some of them can just like, okay, it hurt, but why you gonna call me and I'm using the same exact word, or I say it to everybody else. And that's the whole difference of perspective, meaning that, that entitlement. I can say what I want to say because it's a form of endearment or a form of that. Don't get me wrong, to each his own. But for me, it is a more emotional type of situation.
It's always been fascinating to me that like the same culture, Southern culture, which prizes hospitality and like is so welcoming, et cetera, also is the home of this, of the, insidious, the racist traditions. And it's always been mind boggling to me. Like I recently rewatched The Help, and I was just like, how do humans behave this way? Like, how do they care so much about being nice and hospitality and welcoming people, and then just spitting on their fellow man? It just absolutely mind boggling to me. But lots of fried chicken in that movie. I will say that thing. Oh man! Now I do.
Fall out.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Mimi don't burn chicken. What? All right. So I do have to ask, what? What are you cooking right now? Anything you're particularly really into right now that you're just in Chef's Kitchen that you're just excited about?
Cooking. The new book. I actually have a food prep company I just brought out, which is called Chow Meal Preps, chowmeals.com. And I made them be fresh and delivered in 24 hours. And they're my recipes and absolutely amazing. The new cookbook. And like I said, I have the 4 shows come out, 2 this year and then 2 next year. But the big prize is who they're with. So I want to have some really big fun with that. And I want to do that because I want to expand to get more of an audience. And get more of an audience, my demographic is between the ages of 13 and 34. So I love that I'm in that spectrum of it, to be able to get that part to change their mindset or sight, understand what is actually going on. And then I have my nonprofit and other big things that's coming up. But yeah, just love it.
Well, that's all amazing. And I apologize. I meant actually, are you culinarily. You're actually making something that you just love right now that I'm like, oh man, sometimes you go through seasons. I got into a one pot meal phase a while ago, and I was like, I won't tell you, I won't compare it to anything you make, but I was like, I'm pretty proud of my gumbo right now that I make. I love a good gumbo, and my jambalaya I think's real good.
Where are you from again?
I'm from San Diego.
You just threw me way off.
I know. Well, my mom is from Titusville, Florida, though.
Okay,
and so there's some southern roots there, and so she lived right across from Cape Canaveral, and so she'd get up in the morning and trap crab and crawdad and fish, and I'll come home from school, and same thing, big old Baptist church, and on Sunday they just dump out crates full of all sorts of really good shellfish. And to this day, she doesn't like paying for shellfish at restaurants. She's like, why would I pay $40 for a lobster tail? I could get it for like free, back in my house.
Okay, I'm with your mom on that part. Yeah, I agree with that. But I go through my phases. I'm kind of like a mutt. I just love everything. If I see something, I'm gonna look at it, do it, and then I'm going to turn it into a dozen different ways, whether it be Asian or Italian or just like you said, the one potters or something. I don't know. I'm not kind of like all over the place because I still like to do a lot of little stuff with content and teach people at the same time on how to do like little stuff, with the knives or with like little hacks, little fun stuff that you can do, and then you can make stuff out of. So I actually do that. And then I start making stuff as I go. I do a lot of mystery baskets. Mystery basket meaning that I'll just grab a bunch of food, not knowing what it's for, and I'll make a meal out of it, which is one of my two things.
I love that. Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah. Well, I guess last question then. Do you have a top of mind, a fun little hack that the average person right now, you're like, oh man, this could be a game changer in your kitchen. Here's a little something fun that you could do.
A game changer. What's the hack? Oh my God, I got so many.
I know. Is there one? You just pick one,
I don't know. Maybe just rubbing some lemon on before you cut your onion or something. I don't know. It's just,
all right. Walk me through that. Cause I love onions. It's a tearful affair oftentimes. Tell me about lemon and onion. What am I missing here?
Just rub a little onion on a lemon on your board before you cutting it, and put the onion on top of it, and then just start cutting it, and it'll supposedly, make you not cry. I don't cry anyway. I'm a big boy.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But a lot of people do cry when they cut their onions. I never cry on that part. So okay. I love little hacks at that point.
All right. Well, I'll give that a shot tonight. Well, before we wrap up, is there anything else you want to mention or talk about before we close up shop?
No, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for your time, appreciation, all you're doing, and this was fun. Absolutely, man. Well, can we get a final flex, by the way? Chef and I are going to have a flex off right now. Okay. Just like, oh yeah. I mean, here's the thing there we go. Look on screen, it looks about the same, right? Yeah. No, it doesn't. Oh man. Well, folks, we've been camping with Chef Andre Rush. Now, make sure you call him Chef, or he will have words, and he'll be forced to lift you up and bless you in the Baptist tradition. So, anyways, Chef, we so appreciate you. Congrats on the book, and folks, go out, check it out, and start cooking. Thank you. Thanks for joining us, folks. If you want to help us out, and we're confident you do, go ahead and hit that subscribe button here on our YouTube channel. And if you ever feel like just listening to these, you can check us out on all major podcast streaming platforms by just searching for I Went Camping With. And there, you should also subscribe. Thanks again, folks.